Okay, adult Disneyland. Does anybody else feel absolutely all the way sentimental after watching an intro like that? I mean, hi. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. My name is Peggy Dean. If you are new to me, I'm an author, educator, artist. I said that in a weird um, order. I don't know. Anyway, I'm all those things. I love to teach art. I love to play with art. And today we're going to be blending two mediums into one, which I'm sure that we are relatively familiar with if we dabble in creativity at all. We probably are used to picking up a medium or two. So we'll be doing that today, and both of them are very approachable, especially if you are new to either. So what we're going to need today are watercolor and ink pen. Okay. Right? Don't you think so, Alice? I just think, just so you know, if I'm a little delayed to your response, such is alive. So if you're saying something and I laugh like 45 seconds later, just know I'm not like actually, it doesn't take me that long to process like you might think. Okay. Thanks for being here. All right. So let's talk about, oh yeah. So real quick, let me know where you're tuning in from, but also I want to know what color you're feeling today. It's my favorite thing to ask everybody when we go into a sesh like so, because I think that that says a lot about how you're doing. So let me tell you, I am feeling today, I think like a brick. I want to go orange, but I feel like a brick red today. I like it. Yeah, so let me know the color you're feeling today and where you're tuning in from. So let's talk about what we're going to do. First of all, while we talk about what we're going to do first, I want you to prepare a few materials, such as watercolor paper. Now, it doesn't matter that much for this project, but I'm like trying to find vocabulary words that are not coming to me right now. I would be word if I didn't say, you know what I'm trying to say, that the most important thing you can do when you are, here we go. Oh, greens today. Okay. Well, I missed the mark. If I didn't say about watercolor paper that you are going to want 100% cotton paper. And you're also going to want 140 pound. So that means, can I give you a fun fact real fast? It is that when you stick a bunch of pieces of paper together, into a pile and you weigh it, that's called a ream. And a ream is what they determine the weight off of. So if you see 150 pound paper or 300 GSM, that's grams something or other, it's the weight. It just means the weight. It's the ream. How cool. Okay, I won't get too technical with you. I just love a random fact, and that one's an easy one. So 100% cotton paper, 140 pound. The reason why is because it will be able to absorb the paint that you're putting onto it. It will be able to absorb the water without warping or without making the paper start to pill up when you're painting, all of that. And if it is a combination of some kind, and it is watercolor paper, but it's not 100% cotton, you're going to run into issues. And the other side of that too, if it is mixed media or so. Jen Dixon, you babe, hi. It's great to see you. Alice, it is great to see you. Okay, I'm going to stop. Brooklyn Sapphire Blue, Dallas, Texas, Pumpkin Orange. Oh, see, Ashley and I are on the same page. I'm feeling it. North Carolina, Deep Forest Green era. Love it. India, hey. Bright olive green. Really green today, though. I like that it's like a green and orange-ish day. I'm into this. I like that. Okay, so that said, watercolors, please feel free to pick your fancy. This is not going to be a super highly technical watercolor workshop, so I want you to just play. I don't want you to overthink it. We can talk about watercolor should you have questions. I'm going to be walking through my process, but we're not going to get so like hyper focus, nerd out, all the things that I love to do because we just want to play today. I know I keep talking. There's so much to know. The other thing is an ink pen. Now, real quick, if you plan on painting over your ink at any point, make sure that this is probably a duh, but it's not always, okay? So make sure that it won't bleed. So it's bleed proof, it's permanent, it's archival, all those words. That means if you don't know, just scribble on a piece of paper, let the ink dry completely before you test it, because some people will be like, it's kind of, but it's like you didn't let the ink dry, so of course it's going to run. So basically, scribble on a piece of paper, let it dry all the way, put some moisture on it. If it doesn't bleed, you're probably good to go. Okay. And then otherwise, I just want you to work with what you have, okay? So I'm not going to be doing any ink first. Ink is always going to come after dried watercolor, so don't think you need to go and rush and find a pen that's special. I just wanted you to know in case you want to go back over it. Let me show you an example of what I mean. So something like this. Do you see how this is a little bit cloudy? That was where I went over it again, because I wanted to have like I just wanted to test and see, well, would this look like it's a little bit in a base? And it is really pretty, right? So you can do something like that. However, you definitely don't have to. And with the wisp and the flick of a wrist, you're able to achieve a similar vibe without having to coat it over. So that's just an example of what we're talking about. Now, since we're on this here view, let's talk about our project today. So this is one of my favorite activities. I know, Jen, I know. This is a potter's pink. So what she's referring to with granulation, you see all this texture in here? Some paint is, okay, this is technically also granulation, even though it's not texture. So what you're seeing is a paint that is separating, like the pigments are separating. They're almost like micro balling up once they're laid down, and it creates this cool texture. When I first started painting, I thought this was like an indication of bad watercolor paint. I didn't fully understand or appreciate what it was doing. I was like, I really, like, it was so sad. But then when I learned about it, I'm like, oh, I love granulation. It was a epiphany. Oh, here's a great example. So this is a color called this is the Perylene Violet. I'm almost certain. The green, I know this is Cascade Green with buff titanium, but the Cascade Green, all these are Daniel Smith watercolor, by the way. I just like to tell you guys in case you're wondering, but the Cascade Green has this is a better example. It will separate. This is a different color under here, but let's see it by itself. How about we use it? How about we use it? And then I'll show you what it does. But it basically has a green and a blue in it. So up in here, and then this is just by itself. So you're going to see that with different levels of transparency and how we work with what our watercolors are doing. And you know what? Let me tell you this. No watercolor is exactly the same, okay? So this is all the same brand. Do all of them render the same results? No. Also, one Perylene green next to another brand is not going to look the same, most likely. It could, but it might not. So you really, like, the trick is, if you're like, oh, I learned all these skills, but when I'm applying them, it's not actually, you know, what I think is happening isn't happening. It's just a lot of it's getting to know your pigments. I promise you, like, once you start to really understand your pigments, you start to feel a lot more at ease with the process of like getting, like, just knowing, predicting what's going to happen. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is just paint blob shapes. Okay. These blob shapes will not be just blobs. You could stylize them like blobs. That's fun. Or you can be a little more specific. So this is an exercise to get you out of a creative rut. It's one of my absolute favorites because, you know, when you sit down, you see a blank piece of paper and you're like, oh my gosh, what do? I really want to paint. I want to put something on paper, but like everything sounds like I just don't know. Here you go. Like, I promise you, look at this stunning result. You know how many Pinterests will repost, like, this thing is all over the place because it's so aesthetically pleasing. I'll leave it in frame because that way you have a little bit of a reference. But what I want you to do is kind of go off of your gut instinct as far as shapes go. So we can work along together. You can go with me or you can come up with some of your own, but I'll talk about watercolor as we do this. I know it doesn't have to be perfect, and in 2 seconds it's not going to be, but look at this moment we're having together. What I should do is put like double-sided tape and you guys will think I'm just so crisp. What a clean worker she is. Okay, so What I want to talk about real quick with watercolor is whenever I'm using a round 6 BT Dubs, it's just it's a round brush. It's very versatile. It's like a small to medium. So grab whatever. I like round brushes because they have a lot of control. They have, I'm going to show you, do I have a sample page? Yes, right here. What happens is you're able to get, I didn't want to use that color, but here we are. It's always my, like, here, I'm going to sample this and show you with this color, but we're going with green. Okay. So what you're able to do with a round brush is you're able to get these nice hairline strokes. Okay. But you're also able to use this brush to your advantage. And I'm going to show you how to do this properly because you're going to try to do it and it won't give you this nice thick stroke. And there's a reason for it. Okay. So you see how I can press down all the way. Do you see this belly opening up here? The brush is just really nice. And look at this. Oh my gosh. Big, huge stroke based off of just this brush. So how can you achieve this in one stroke? With, I mean, obviously you could go from the side, but oftentimes how many times do you have this like dry, you're met with this dryness? And the reason why is because what we want to do, I know this looks gross, okay? It looks gross. It's not, okay? You're just gonna go on the side. Do you see how I'm pressing on the side here? And it's opening up those bristles. So whenever I prep my brush to start dancing, we're going to go in and we're going to roll the brush on the side. And what that does is it opens up the bristles so that water gets inside to the middle as well. That is going to make sure that your brush is well primed. Does it need this much water? No, I'm going to keep it on here though. And the reason why is because my watercolor is bone dry right now. It's got no love and I want to love it up. And I told you guys I'd go into Cascade Green. So that's what I'm going to do. So this one here, I'm going to approach this the same way that I did the water. So it's on the side and it's rolling. You can't see it too well because it's a dark color, but essentially I am on the side, right? And then rolling. You're not going to hurt the brush because it was made to work this way. You are using the brush, its full ability. Susan's asking, do you have to do, hi, Susan. Susan's asking, do you do that for acrylics and gouache as well? I do. Yeah, I absolutely do. Now with acrylics, I tend to, and gouache, that first roll that I do, I always, the first roll in water, I always drag off the side of the cup because I don't want to just pool I use acrylic gouache, so I don't want to pool into that, but it will help you to prime your brush. That's important. Okay, so with that said, is that helpful? I'd have to give you a little tips like that, especially because, man, it makes a difference when you're painting. Was that a new tip to anyone? I hope so. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna form shapes. If it helps you to mark first, I never have, but I did bring a little pencil over here because I know that some of us are gonna be upset if we don't get this right. So what I wanna show you real quick, I'm gonna have to redo this brush. What I wanna show you is, you see how this is taking up a row right here, but the vases themselves are shorter. Have you guys heard of something called, oh shoot, hold on, I gotta find the word. Because I just put it in my monthly, okay, here we go. Is it aphantasia? What's it called? It's called, this is important. Aphantasia, I got it. Okay, so have you guys heard of aphantasia? That means, I'm going to sum it up right here, the inability to create mental imagery during cognition. Essentially, that means if I only see a blank paper, it's like impossible to actually be able to like materialize what's in my brain. That I don't have it, but I know that a lot of people do. And I just learned so much about it and I was like fascinated. And how many of you have this? Because I had so many emails that were like, oh my gosh, I have this. So I think it's important to also share this part of it because if that's you, this will help you. And I don't want you to struggle. That would be so frustrating. So basically, if you can't like if you can't visualize an eyeball, like, okay, I'm going to want my vases to be about here so that I have room for these buds. What I would do is just put a little, mark, like let's do 3 in each row. Okay. So I'll put one here, I'll put one here, and I'll put one here. And if you want to do like the top of buds, just little marks. So essentially they're just like helpers. And then you can do it to the middle if you want. So like, okay, I know the vases are going right here and then right here. Okay. I did that real bad with my measurements, but you get what I'm saying. Let's go here. And then you can erase pencil lines. There, I'll use these ones. I'll make them darker so you can see them better. This will just be helpful. So if you need to see them, and I know this is all over the map. Okay, so let's just go. Here's a vase line. Here's a vase line. Here's a vase line. And if you want to use a ruler, you can. But literally, we're going to go outside of this so much. Now, if you do add marks, please go over them with an eraser lightly, because when you watercolor over pencil, that is not coming up. You will see through it, especially if you're doing something translucent, but you're not going to get the pencil up. And so you want this to be a guide you can see, but one that if covered, then it's not going to be really, really obvious. It's kind of a messy project as far as the final result, so it's not going to matter that much. Peggy, stop talking. Stop talking and let's paint. I do once I get going. Wait, what are you referring to? I do. What were we saying? What were we saying 45 seconds ago? Okay. So, oh, I didn't. My brush is great still. So what we're going to do is let's start, like, do you feel curvy or do you feel boxy today? Let's start there. I'm going to start with being boxy. Now, if it helps you too, you just know where it is. And then as you go, gosh, this eraser is terrible. I need to grab one of my good erasers, but not gonna. Okay, so let's say I feel curvy. Look at that. Okay, so cool. We have this big pool of water. I'm gonna go on this side. See how it's a little drier? This pool would usually be like, oh, that's a little too much, but I know it's not, because as soon as these shapes connect, that's gonna start to bleed over. And then you're gonna find, oh, I actually think I need more pigment in this. Now, what I'll do here, I want this to be real round to start. What you'll see is maybe on your paper, this is looking a lot like an apple. So we're going to give it a top. Okay, so it's just a teensy lip. I'll make it a little bigger. And that's just what I felt like doing for the first one. While your watercolor is still wet, one of my favorite things to do is go back into the pigment and then just set down some pigment. And this is one of my, like this project in particular, turn up the drama. Okay. So I left a little white space right here on purpose. If you didn't, no problem. You can do it in another one, or you don't have to. But basically every time that you set pigment down, it's going to start to bleed. That's going to get less and less. Right now, it looks really, really bold. I promise you in like a minute from now, it's not going to look quite as bold. So what I do is let it dry in stages. You're going to see this sheen on your paper. Do you see that sheen? You're going to be able to start to know, like, okay, my sheen is looking like so. I'm going to wait until it's semi-dry, and then I'm going to drop in a few more. Do you see how now it's bleeding a little bit slower? It's kind of stuck in that spot. It's going to still bleed. It will probably blend together, but that's where instead of dropping color in, you can just do like a swipe, and then it will start to shade and in that general area. So while it's a line right now, it will start to expand. And that's it. Okay, that's it. We move on to the next. I know it feels like you want to work it out, work it out, work it out. And you may want to. There are such a thing as little blooms, and it might be hard to see, but do you see on the outside here, there's a little hot spot right here also at this edge. There's that line. That's sometimes not wanted by people. I love it so much. What that's caused from is an imbalance in the overall water on, like, let's say it's wetter in one spot than the other. And so cheaper paper, that's going to happen with even when you're not trying, but especially when you're adding pigment, there's a lot of water on your brush as well. You don't need more water when you're adding pigment. You can just go back into your pigment and tap it in and you'll be good. So, oh, I answered it. Okay, good. look at though, do you see this is Cascade Green? It's all that I use. Do you see that like turquoise popping through? Mm, that is delicious. I'm sorry. I'll have this. I'll have one of those. Okay, first shape done. Now, what I like to do is keep a limited color palette. It will elevate your work so much. However, hold on. I'm like, I can't help it. I have to pull out examples because the first time I ever did one of these that was, here's the archives. I have this in a class, okay? It's like a find your style through floral exploration class on Skillshare. And we do this project and this is with watercolor, but it's a lot more opaque. And then you add like paint pen to it. You can add outline to it. In the class, you'll notice that I do add outline, but what I ended up doing was making a photocopy of it because I wanted to make sure I still had this version because I really liked this version. So you can do it bold and colorful, okay? But look at how elevated. Look at the difference in style. Are you kidding me? Like, this is two different people. No, it's not, you guys. It's me. Okay. So listen, you pick your poison. We're going to play. Okay, so the next one, let's go into, I want to find a neutral, I think. So in this one, I used Potter's Pink as a neutral, which I know is a little cheap, but I think I want to do like a French ochre today. BT Dubs, if you have a palette and you're like, I don't know what color these are, make yourself a cheat sheet. It's the best thing I ever did ever. Look at this. Like, I know exactly. And I also drop in color the same way that we did just now. So it's like a light wash, and then I drop in a little pigment at the bottom so I can see the full thing. I know it's microscopic, but man, it helps. So do that. It'll be your friend. So French ochre, I sayed this one. So this is like a neutral. It's a warm, beigeish, brownish thing. So this one we'll go ahead and I'll make, if I'm doing 3, we want to fill some real estate here. I think I'll do pillars, like 2 pillars that are maybe like it's going to look like a sideways H kind of. So I'll go ahead and do a horizontal spot. Now I want to point out that you can see that pencil mark right here. Oh, maybe not so much on camera, but you can see it. And if you want to avoid that, you know how. The big thing that I think about, I don't think about making all of these the same height. I actually like them to stagger. But one of the main things is keeping the baseline the same-ish. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to drop way, way low because we want this to look like it's, shelving, if you will. Okay, and then we're going to do like an H, but they're going to be not an H, like I guess that would be an I, not just a sideways H, but an I. Thank you for putting the link. That class that I was referring to is in the chat. We'll put a link in the replay too, so that you have that access. Thank you. So let's go ahead and create like a circle in the middle. I know this is weird because I said it was going to be a pillar, and it is. And then we'll do like a smaller circle, and then we'll just connect those. Okay, so this is just stylizing in a way that just has some interest. Actually, I want to make this a lot bigger, maybe like ovalish, because we want it to be a vase, so it needs to be real bulky. She got to be chunky. You know what? Let's change our minds. Let's go in and do, I totally am like, oh, we have to pivot because that's not going to work as a vase. But that's part of the fun because we're just sitting down and experimenting. There was a time I had a huge creative block. Now I'm going back in and just dropping in some pigment. And this is not perfect. You can see it's longer on one side. I don't care. I think it looks cool. I'm keeping it as is. Now this pigment, I'll get to my story in a sec, but this pigment in particular is a lot thicker. Like I can see that it's thicker. It's not bleeding as much. And then on this side, I'm just going to drop in a few spots, not on the edges. I want it to be varied. But you can see like it's kind of treated almost like the sheen is drier, but it's not. So that's just a pigment thing. And I know that about this pigment, but you can see the sheen is about the same as what I showed you last time, but the bleed is a lot less. And so that, again, if you're not having the same results, your pigment's a little different, but none is like right or wrong. You see that I put this in at all stages. But I do think it's fun to put those added elements in. Now, if you want to really, really throw yourself for a fun little ride, let's see, this is like a warm, so like yellows and oranges. We don't want opposite color wheel because that's going to cancel it out and make it more brown, which is fine in this case. But let's say we wanted to just enhance it and add like an undertone of color. We could go into like a yellow and just add a little bit right here to have it bleed. And do you see how much that just like, bam, we have some color here. We've lightened things up. It doesn't take much. When you're painting leaves, I would go through my sketchbook to show you. I have like 6 sketchbooks here. I don't know which one it's in. I'm not going to make you wait. But if you paint leaves, if you paint them first with an undertone of yellow, or you paint them wet on wet and drop in some yellow, your leaves will they will glow. It is so much fun. You will love it. Just take my word. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. And I'm going to tell you about my first experience with with something like this. And I'm going to go into another green that's really similar, and you could mix this on your palette. I'll tell you the colors I'm using. You do not need them, but just because I know that it's fun to know. So this is Perylene green, and I'm just going to do like a taller, skinnier situation, but drop the top of it a little lower. And then do I want to go straight down or curve out? So I kind of like hover. I think I want to just go straight down. I hover to kind of get a visual of it helps me actually like have the visual come to life. Okay, so I really, really wanted to paint something one day, and I had no idea what. And so I just sat down and started swatching, and we all know swatching, right? So we just start laying paint down and seeing what happens. And that was fun. I left white space on purpose right here. So try to do that because it also adds some interest. So that was fun. But then the next page I took 2 colors. It happened to be Cascade Green. This one on purpose, I'm adding way more watercolor because I want to have these weird blooms. So we're going to let that be. Do you see how good? That's yummy. Okay, that's it on that one. And then what happened was, I'm just going to finish the story, or I'm going to keep going back and forth like a ping pong ball, and that'll be annoying for everybody. So first one, it was like swatches and just playing. And the second one, I started putting the swatches together. So I'd lay a swatch, and then I'd get the next color and lay it so it just barely touched. So these 2 colors would essentially just barely touch and watch it bloom. I did a full page of that, and it was just fun and meditative. And then the next page, I was like, okay, we can put this into objects. So very similarly like this, I made a swimsuit taxonomy. This is a taxonomy, collection of like items on a page. And it was so satisfying, the end result. And since then, it's just like, I just love this. It's such an icebreaker for my own self to just be able to get onto paper. Okay, so for this one, let's do, so this one's large, and it's wide. It's shorter, but it's wide. So maybe something to balance it might be something tall and thinner. So let's go. This color is not very well washed off brush with with buff titanium. So there is a green undertone to it. I'm fine with it because I know that I'm not going to be working in any warm colors right now. And so I'm kind of into it, but you'll start to see that come through. Now I have too much paint on my brush for what my goal is. So I'm going to show you a trick around that. My goal is to have this this bleed and translucency. So what I'll do is take my brush and fully rinse it like all the way, all the paint's off. I'm rolling it on the side, pulling that extra water all the way off with full pressure so that I just have a damp brush. And then, actually, I'm lying. We don't want just a damp brush. I'm going back in and swiping it once, but heavily. So we have a semi-wet brush. And then from the corner, I'm pulling up into the paint, not pulling down, because what's going to happen is that's a little too wet. So now I have a damp brush and I'm pulling up to pick up some of that water so that it's not pooling. Little tricks, okay? Wet on wet is a little difficult when you're trying to keep up with it, but when you know the tricks, it'll come like second nature. But what I wanted was some of that variation. I didn't want a flat color in this instance. So that's why I did that. And that's where you can kind of save it if you have too much pigment. Before you're done with the shape, rinse your brush, get it semi-wet, and then pull up into the color, not pulling the color down, because once it touches, it will bleed. The fact that the chat is quiet means that you're working along with me, and that's cute. I love it. We're all cute together. We're all playing. When I used to do live workshops and take a drink, I used to think like the worst thing that could ever happen was dead air, because I'm a talker and I don't like awkward silences. So I'm like, every time I take a drink, I have this conscious thing of like, everything is boring right now and I'm sorry. So let's change the tone. This one's really like cool, even though we have some warm greens. I want this to be warmer, and so I'm going to get like a sap green, which is like basically empty on my palette, but it's in there. We're going to get it out. And we want that to be saturated, but not too much. So I'm going to, on purpose, get my brush too saturated with not enough water. Can I say something? I will. Here we go. When I say a lot more water, it doesn't mean, when anyone says get a lot more water on your brush, it doesn't always mean literally a lot more water, okay? Sometimes it's hard when someone's instructing and you're walking through a process. When you hear that, you're like, okay, a lot more water. A lot of times what that actually means is to the ratio, paint to water ratio. So a lot more water than paint, but you still don't want it to be pooling, right? So let me just do an aside. This is important, okay? Is anyone new to watercolor? Show of hands. What I'm going to do is, okay, here's my first stroke, right? So that's real pigmented. Okay, so what I'll do from here is rinse the brush a little, but I'm going to swipe it on the side so I don't have excess water. And then I'll go again. Do you see how much lighter that is? Let's do it again. Real quick rinse, swipe it on the side, and then we have even lighter. This is the water amount. What I put on the page is the exact same. It's just the ratio. There's less paint than water right here, but they're all the same amount of water. This is important. When I did not know this for years. Like, it was so frustrating. Like, even when I was teaching in the beginning, I didn't know this. And I'm just like, oh yeah, you need a lot more water. But it's like, my brain didn't compute it until I was trying to break it down for someone. And I was like, oh my gosh, what an aha moment I'm having. And maybe I just missed the mark on learning that one part, but I have to share that because it's really important. Because look at the variation you can get. And yes, while one of them's drying a little faster, look at the sheen. Wait. There we go. The sheen is the same on all of them. Okay. So do yourself a solid and remember, paint to water ratio, not necessarily a ton more water. Okay. So glad that's helpful, Ollie. Thank you. All right. Sap green, I say. So I'm going to get too much paint because I want to show you what I just did, but when you know what is about to happen. So this one I'll make wider and maybe kind of flat, like terrarium style a little bit. So not round because, well, round would be fine. Let's see, maybe round at the top and then the bottom, not so much. Okay, see how that's real pigmented. Okay, let's say I lay that down and I'm like, ooh, this is a lot more than I thought it should be, although it's not bad, but like, dude, right? So what we can do is the same thing I just showed you. Just rinse your brush a little bit and then pull a little of that off of the edge and then pull into the paint. So I'm still forming it, right? But if I pull into that paint, if it's starting to dry, just give it a little encouraging pet, is what I say, because Edie, my cat, I'm also kind of measuring so it's centered. So I want to stop right there. My cat will not eat her food unless you give her encouraging pets. And so now in my watercolor practice, I'm like, oh, we got to give it a little encouraging pet. But do you see how now it's starting to bleed that direction? If you wanted it to be even, you can pull that over and it will pull along that wash. It's so, I have to say, I keep looking up to see the screen to see what you guys are seeing versus what I'm seeing IRL, because I want to make sure that you are getting a good gist. And I have to say, it looks better on camera. Like the contrast, like it's so much more dramatic, this area right here, and I'm living for it. I wish it looked like that to me, but it sure doesn't. Sorry about my head. Okay, so this is weird, right? So because it's curved, but what I want to do is kind of have a maybe like a big let's see. Maybe, okay, so still flatter, but just like a straight across, I think. And I just rinsed my brush to get more water because I know it's gonna touch this part that's still wet. I'm working it a little bit, just kind of coaxing to make it re-wet a little, but do you see? Okay, so that's fun. This is just a big, weird, I've never done one that's wide, but I'm here for it. So there's no wrong shape, right? We're all doing it together. It does look like the color you said, that olive green. I remember. Why do I remember people's colors more than anything? Like, you could tell me your sign, you could tell me anything. I'm like, no, I know what color you said you were feeling on Thursday. All right. I know it's not Thursday, everyone. Don't get it twisted. That was just an example. I'm reworking this corner, but I'm doing it with a pretty much damp brush because I don't want a hot spot. Well, I kind of do want a hot spot, but that will avoid a hot spot. But you can rework watercolor. You don't want to do it too much because you don't want the paper to pill up. See that hot spot that's coming in? That's because when I dragged it over, I'm keeping it because I love it. You don't have to keep it. You can rework that a little bit, damp brush, and it will break it up, but I'm here for that. I'm here for this. Okay, so I want to drop in another pigment to make sure it's still wet. So I wanted to do it right here. The paper is still wet right there, but there's not much of a sheen at all. So that means that I'm not going to be able to drop it in easily. So what I'm going to do, and this is a trick you can do. You can come in and swipe on the side, get more water, not a ton, but not damp, and go over the entire area right there so that the entire area has an even sheen again, and then drop the color in. Because watercolor is translucent, it will still have that bleed if we want it. So I'm going to rinse the brush and then get that damp, and then I'll pull that in to the water that I just put down, and it will start to bleed that direction. Okay, so that's going to give us that fun, ooh, I love it. Okay, that's going to give us that fun effect. We could put it all over the whole thing. I just don't want to because I like the way this looks. But tricks, put the tools in your pocket so that you have them for when it counts. Now I'm going to go into a vivid, this is pretty bright. So maybe something subdued, and then I'll balance it out with some bright yellows somewhere. I don't know, maybe yellow would be good here. Let's do yellow right here. Let's do another French ochre performance. Okay, so this one, these are pretty not like, they're not that interesting. So let's make something interesting. Now I'm like, maybe I want this one to be interesting. It's not too late. I'm gonna come over here and, well, what time is it? No, I'm not. How much time do we have? I think we have an hour, and I'm like, let's keep going. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna speed this up. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Okay, let's do a circle that's smaller. Can we have 2 hours? This is like always me in a workshop. I'm like, can we do this all day? Let's just do it all day. So this one's really, really transparent. I'm leaving some white space on this one, but see how light it is? And then I'm gonna drop in that yellow just along, let's say, I'm not gonna use the tip this time, I'm gonna use the side of my brush. So it's a little more, because this one's pretty transparent, right? But we still want that glow. So there we go. Now let's do that again. What color did I have? This is French ochre. So I'm gonna do that again, smaller toward the top. So we're making like a snowman. You're like, what? Yeah, it's true. Okay, now from there, drop in that yellow. Well, I haven't yet, but I'm evening that out a little. Drop in the yellow. See how you can see my pencil line underneath there? I don't really care that much. I'm pretty messy with my finished products, but that way, if you erase it first, you'll be fine. But it's just like a nice guide. Okay, you get it. I'm gonna make the bottom a little deeper. The sheen did go away, so I'm just going to bring that deeper, or create a new sheen and just come in with the original color so that we have a grounding color, okay? Now, so it's a little deeper. from here, what we want to do, let's keep the bottom open for homework. I love a good homework because I want you to be able to get these botanicals. Now, this is the fastest part because you'll be shocked at how quickly you can create all of these very intricate looking blooms, but they're not actually that intricate, okay? So obviously we want things to fully dry. This one's fully dry. I'm right-handed, so I have to be really, really careful about where I'm setting my hand. If it helps you, one of the things that I will do is take my left hand and literally make like a perch for my wrist. It's hard to have control that way, but once you get in the habit of it, especially if you're working fast, or you can just wait 5 minutes, or you can take a heat gun, or you can take a hair dryer. But just as an FYI. Now, the pen that you're using is going to determine the intricacy versus doodle. So if you want more of a doodle vibe, let me show you an example. If you want more of a doodle vibe, let me pull out the archive here. The tip size matters. So like you might have a piece that you really think you love or that you're going to love. And then you do it and you're like, oh, this looks really like it was blown out. Your tip size of your pen was probably too large for the size that you were drawing. Here we go. So this example here, yes, they get larger, but this one is like with a fine, it's 01, 03, 05, 07, 09. If this size was this small, it would look really doodly. It does look doodly this large, but I think that a good safe rule of thumb and a pen size that most everybody has is an 05. Because it's like standard. And even if you don't have a literal 05, you probably have a pen that's about that size. Now, I would go as small as possible. If you have a fine tip, you're going to get these really intricate, wispy versions. But doodle, nothing wrong with that vibe either. But what we want to do is don't test your paper like I'm doing it because you could smudge a little bit. But I'm okay to rest now on here. Now, when we're drawing, what I like to do is do the stems first. So pulling up for this, you can fill the vase top. You don't have to, but like if we plan the stems first, let's see if this pen is happy with me or not. Oh, poo. This pen isn't happy with me, but I have another pen that's probably happy. This one's happy. Okay, that one goes over there, not to be confused again. So let's go ahead and pull up. Do you see how wispy these are? So what I'm doing is lightly, like so lightly, just flicking up like so. So see how when we start darker like that, if you start with a little fuller pressure, if I did full pressure the whole way, there we go. If I do full pressure and start to lift up and kind of wisp off, it's kind of like a little bit of a flick. You get that lighter version, but this is pretty light the whole way. We're just playing. It's fun. Now, because this is a darker one, if we bring some of that wisp down into the vase, by the way, make sure that you actually follow the line. So you don't do one that's like, where is that even going? What is that even connected to? So just like, no, okay, there's one about right here. So I'll do it like a wisp. Do you see? What I ended up doing was kind of skipping. And that's just because of how light I was on my pen. It was an accident that I am very happy with. So there we go. We have some floaters in there, but it's like kind of hard to see, which is alluding to that we have a translucent glass. Whereas something like this one, we could do it darker, but I like it to be like, okay, this is like not on all of them, but see how just some of them have this like idea that it's in there. So that's what I want to do. This one I'm going to have be opaque, but I'll have these buds come up and I'm just going to do like, let's do like 4 of them. Okay, 5. Tiny one next to it. This one, 1. We're just going to go 1. And you know what we'll do is curve around. So that's going to be like a droopy friend. This one, how about just like straight up? So these ones are like more flowy. This one's straight up. This one, let's just put some noise in here. I'm not even going to have it come up. We could do, ooh, I've never done that before. We do a whole bouquet right here. Let's see what, I'm going to leave that alone for now. Ooh, all right. This one, let's go ahead and I'll just start down here because it's easier for me to draw up. And then that way I can carry it through right here. So see how everything is technically connected even though the line is skipped? We'll do the same thing here. I like a little overlap. It's a friend. And then I'm not going to do that as long because I don't want it to be like too much. And then I'm going to leave the middle alone and just do a few more stems out of the top. It looks weird because there's not a lip. I'm okay with it though. Okay. Now, leaves and flowers. Let's start with buds because they're easy. Yeah, it's true. So we'll go C curves. They're very easy. You're just going to, I'll do one larger so you can see it with a larger pen. Let's see what I have here. What size is this? 07. Okay, so basically the way that I do these, and they're very, very expressive and gestural. So it's like a quick C curve, right? Is this pen mad at? No, it's not mad at me. Okay, C curve, C curve. Do you see how I didn't really care about what was connected to what? And then a few inner lines that follow the curve of the outside, and then maybe some textural edges. The reason why this is so messy is because we're going to draw this super teensy. So that's basically it. So we're going C curve, C curve. I didn't connect the top, and then a few little wispy lines on the inside, and then maybe the illusion of a tiny top. Like I just did like I don't even know what that is, just a curved line down. And that was just a gestural, like I'm finishing the top without thinking about it, without overthinking. I'll do another one right here so that we have some variety in height. Okay. And then I did like these two little scribbles at the top. It doesn't mean anything. It's just what my hand just did. Okay. Now we can put some leaves in here, and these can be defined or they can be wispy. So when I say defined, it's like, okay, we can draw them like this, right? On the stem, or we can do them so that they're like gestural, kind of wispy, kind of what's going on. Or they could even be like literal scribble line work. There's not a wrong way to do this. I'm going to start off doing a little more defined, but they're going to be super small. And here's why. I don't want my leaves to compete with the size of the buds. If I did these a lot more round, they might make it so that my buds get lost, and we don't want that. So little wispies, okay? I'll bring this one up just a little bit higher so that it looks more, it helps this one get finished. We'll also put one curving up like this to help that one look like it's not just on its own. There we go, done. Moving on to the next. So I'm going to make this a little larger, and you're going to go for a little bit of a ride. Close your eyes. Actually, I'll bring my face back. No, I have to do it together. Don't look, because I don't want you to, I don't want to Blair Witch Project you, but I do want this to be bigger. There. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go into this one. And what we'll do is, I'm looking at this for reference. Let's do these ones that are like a little bit open. So that's going to look like, on a larger scale, we're going to make a C curve, okay? And then we're going to texture the edge. When we texture the edge, we don't want it to go up. We don't want teeth, because if we do that, it's going to look like this. That's fine. It's doodly. It's cute. But when we come in and dip down and then come back to baseline, do you see how it just kind of looks like a more natural progression? I know this is itty bitty when we do it, but it matters. And then from there, what we'll do is just tuck a petal kind of behind, and then another one right here. And then we'll just scribble in a center. And it just kind of gives the illusion of a flower on its side. Very simple, especially on small scale. Small scale flowers, you're going to be like, people are going to see it and be like, wow, you are so talented at your flower drawing. And it's just like the teensiest, because they look intricate. It's cool. Okay. So let's go here. So little horseshoe, hopefully you can see this. It's tiny horseshoe. Okay. And then a little texture. And you know what I do? I'm shaky by nature. My hands shake. I just like stop trying to control it, and I just have death grip, and I'm like, okay, we're going to shake this out. So I just let my little body do its thing, and that's what gives me the texture. Okay, and then do the little wraparound petal, like I said, and then just darken the center. And then we have that bud. And then what we'll do is give it a little bit of line work so that we have that that petal definition. And we'll do another one. I don't always do it to the stem. I kind of like find areas where I think it would look nice and then just go in right there, because there's no stem technically right where I put it, because I'm going to do something else here. You can add a stem, but there we go. So we have two technically open buds. And then for this one, I think that doing leaves that are more sparse, because we can differentiate, right, from the one next to it. Actually, let's do like real long ones. I think that would be fun. So where the stem is, I'm just going to bring it down. So like here's the whole stem, right? I'm just connecting to the top and then coming back into it. So that's all that's happening here. So I find that longer stem and then just bring in, and this one is going to be tucked behind this one. And there we go. So we just have these little tiny sprouts, if you will. That'll work. I think another thing that would look good with this one is to come up and put little, I love these like interesting little branch things, like little balls. And some of these can come off of the same stem and they look like little branches. See how it just adds interest? Less is more. Know when to stop. So we're going to stop here. We're going to stop right there. No more. What we might do though is just define the flower shape just a little bit more, so you can scribble over the same lines you did just a little and see how it just makes it so the flowers are the focal point, because contrast. Okay, this one, so it might feel like you want to like you want to point the flower down, but instead of that, let's do it so the petals actually are technically on the end of the stem. It's going to go the right way. So the petals are going to come down into the stem. Let's do the center first. So I'm going to stipple the center. What stippling is a lot of dots that create a space. So it's like, you can't even see that. It's like adding depth like so. Okay. And then we're going to do just similar to these leaves, but a lot more wrinkly. We're just going to create, and they're going to form a shape that's kind of like a curve around this stem. They're going to be longer on the sides than they are in front, just by a little bit. I'm going to darken that center with the stippling so you can really see it. And there we go. There's our little sad friend. It's happy enough. Let's do one small textured leaf coming off of it. So a little sprout here, and then to do a textured leaf, I usually come up toward it. But instead of doing the full stroke, I'll come up and stop and then come in a little bit and then go up and stop and then come in a little bit and then connect. And it's just like a little bit of a jagged edge to get it looking more textural. You can do a lot of those and it would add to it as well. Okay, I'm going to speed this up because I know we're time. I think. Can you guys confirm? I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. How long do we have? You can tell me in private chat. I know I'm saying this publicly, but this is my life. I'm notorious. You guys, I'm notoriously bad for knowing how much time that I have. Wait, tell me how much time I have really though, because I value people's time. Thank you. We have about 10 minutes, everybody. We're good. I'm just going to say. Okay. So this is perfect. So let's do let's do the textural, like something like this, because I want you to see how the contrast makes a difference. We could draw all these things, but what you're seeing here is that this is darker. So you see the buds. This is darker. So you see that texture. Even though there's a lot going on right here, we were able to do it because it has so much, it has the values. It has the contrast that we need. So let's do it right here. So let's add a few more stems to this one if you're doing the same one I am. And then here, a little longer on a couple. There we go. So I'm just going to start with the spicy one. And this might sound confusing, but find one of the stems and draw petioles off of it. So that means stem and then little miniature stems coming off of it. That's what we're about to do. I'm going to do the longest, well, maybe this one that's curving upward. No, shoot. I'm just going to make a new one. Look, I'm going to make a new one on the side. Okay, I'm going to do that one. The reason why is because I don't want it to overlap the other stems too much. So I want it to kind of be its own hero. So then, okay, stem, it's going to be small. They're getting a little bit smaller toward the top. And then from here, just kind of like scribble stippling. So instead of doing dot, 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 it's kind of like little scribbles. Like but they're really condensed. So they're going to be kind of like this. Okay. On each of those stems. It taper it a little bit so that at the top it's pretty small. And then on each one, do you see how it just gets a little thicker? No, you don't. It gets a little bit thicker toward the base. So let me see if I can do this as a floater. So here we go. And we're just getting a little bit thicker toward the actual stem and then thinner at the top. Okay. Cool. So we'll do that. And then I'll probably add even more to this one. Let's see. It's so funny that we're doing this because one of my least favorite things, only because of my attention span, and no, not attention, and time, patience. That's the word. That's the word I am unfamiliar with. I just don't love stippling too much, but this is where I love the look of it so much. But this is where like I'm so into it because it takes 2 seconds. I'm going to add a few more at the base so that it's nice and full. But yeah, like this is the one exception, something on a small scale. I'm like, I'll stipple on that. No problem. It looks so cool when it's done. But I just like, seriously, I don't know how some of these illustrations you see like wall size, huge things that look so intricate and it's literally all stippling. When you do this, let's just say you want to have this effect. I'm just going to do a little cluster right here so you can see what I'm talking about. The closer that these are, the more depth you're going to create. So it's kind of like this, right? Versus this, because it's spaced further apart. So it's not as dark. So when you're stippling, let's say I do a ton all together in this cluster and it gets closer and closer. See how it's darker in this area? It gets a little lighter and then it gets a lot lighter out here. It's a very fun finished effect should you want to do that. But that also gives you control over your shading and depth and like highlights and whatnot, which is really helpful if you're doing larger, when you're doing larger florals. When like the center of flowers, I like to stipple it and then, or scribble stipple, and then do more around the edges so that it looks like when the petals are next to it, it's like tucked in versus being side by side. It makes the illustration have a little bit more depth. Okay, so let's do a leaf, more defined leaf here. Let's do S curves. That's going to look like, instead of a C curve, we're going to do an S. So when we do this, it'll be like the leaf has an S, the leaf has an S, and it comes into this finer point. It doesn't have to be perfectly even on either side either, because doing that makes it look, I mean, it doesn't have to look as full, but see how like if I do this one and then this one's just a little more slight, it gives it a little movement. This is so tiny, it doesn't matter, but I like to give you all the tips. Okay, so it's S curve, and then I'll do these a little bit longer. And have them, I don't want the angle to point exactly the same. So I might have some of these kind of come out a little bit more and be a little thinner in some areas, because that way, and if it overlaps your existing line, who cares? You're not going to know. You're not going to see that. And that's very much okay. What I want to do though is bring this one a little taller so that they're not exactly the same in height, because no thanks to symmetry when it comes to nature items. I know we're getting close to that base, but that's okay. Okay, so see, now we have some contrast involved. And then for it, we don't even have to put flowers in a vase, but I I want to. Let's just do little teensy tiny buds. And so that's going to be more like something like this. And the reason why is because C curve, real small. And then at the bottom, I'm just kind of overlapping it a few times with a little bit of lines, I guess, if you use a microscope. But if you do it like this, it's going to bring the contrast to that side so that we have some balance. And that's it. Look at how finished that looks. It's almost too busy. So no such thing. No, there is a such thing. Time. Okay, cool. Now let's go to this one real fast and let's do like basic, like singular petal ones. So like little loopy, like when we're kids, but instead of doing them so that they are all like face forward like this, like we draw when we're kiddos, we can elongate. So foreshortening some of them. So if you were to take, where's my example? If we were to take this, okay, so this face forward and turn it on its side, what we're seeing if we're taking a 3D object and making it 2D is that we have the width that's still the same. So the width here is the same as the width here, but the height from right here to right here, right? If I turn it this way, it's much, much higher. But when I turn it this way, it's shorter. So we want the top and bottom to be shorter and we want the sides to be the same. So that's basically foreshortening in a nutshell and makes it really easy. And then you could also make it so that you don't really see the back part and you add this center in. And then it looks like it just has a little more interest. It just kind of spices up. Spice is the word of the day. I never say spice, but I've said it a few times. It spices up your your illustration, so that it looks a little more dynamic, even though it's simple. And then we can add little teensy little sprig leaves off of this. And sometimes I'll just throw one into a stem here and there, just so it has like a finished feel. And then for this one, we're going to do like succulency beating kind of stuff. It's going to take 2 seconds. All right. So let's go in and let's start with like what are they called? The like pearl succulent thingies. Technical terms. And I'll just drape it over the side just a little bit. And we're going to do this where we don't want to define every single pearl thing. I also want it to kind of travel off of it so it looks like it has some movement. And then over here, we're just going to do the outline of the outside, like as if there's so much contrast involved and it's an overexposed picture. And that's going to give you, your brain will fill in the rest and it will not overwork an illustration, but still give you the vibe you're looking for. Okay. The next one here is, let's do kind of like a traditional succulent, I guess. That seems fine. However, we don't want to draw it huge because everything else here is really small. So the scale, we don't want it to be off. Let's see, succulents go out. Okay, so we'll go kind of a C curve this way and then a C curve this way. I don't have a reference to share. I'm sorry. This is coming from my brain. It might be slightly off. I don't have like the super vivid visual. I'm probably, let's see this scale. I can't share it with you right now. Exactly like seeing one in real life. Most details are clear. Details are moderately clear. Dim, vague outline, or no image at all. I'm talking about aphantasia again. I think most details are clear. So not all the way, but I'm like most. Okay, anyway. Nobody said they had it, so that's good. I hope that's true. So I'm just doing that and kind of going to layer that in. So see how it's just like it's suggesting that it's a succulent. Because these are both, do you see how they're both in value about the same? I'm going to deepen just the area of these little pearl thingies right next to it, maybe put some underneath so that it has some grounding base. I'll carry that overlap into a few of these so it feels like it's consistent, but just a few. And that just creates that more of a dynamic feel. And then right here, we can just do a few, let's see if we're doing a succulent situation. I'm gonna bring this higher too. This is turning into a bush instead of the pearls, but it's fine. It doesn't matter in the long run because we're just putting in texture. Let's just do like some little sprigs. Like they're just little mark making. It's not anything it's not even a thing, but now it looks like a thing. And then I'm going to bring some a little higher kind of behind that. I'm not sure what these are, but I feel like it was not quite right without some texture. So that's kind of what I would do. It's like filling in the blank. Now, if you didn't watch me walk through that whole thing and judging me like you're judging so hard right now, and I know that. If you, I'm just saying, if you weren't thinking about that, you would see this and be like, oh, this is actually really cool. So this is kind of the project, you guys. Like, this is all there is to it. If I hadn't talked through this, if you just sat down and did this, this is a 10-minute max project. I had to give you some watercolor tips. I wanted to give you some floral illustration tips, not something too technical, but something that's going to get you on paper. Because I care more about having you guys get to a place where you feel confident to just like fill a page and not have that resistance. Oh, real quick, I want to show you this because this is gonna, oh, one more thing so fast. Take take your brush and get a neutral of any kind. Like it could be it could be brown, whatever, doesn't matter. Just get a neutral. You're not going to use a lot of paint. Just, you're going to want mostly, remember, more water, not technically. You just want it to be more water than paint. So what I'm going to do is load my brush up and then just quick rinse and swipe on the side. And then just on the bottom, pick a side. What side do you have more room on? So if you're closer here, go to the right. We're just going to do this really light grounding shadow, and it's just kind of like a flick. It flicks off like that. And then look at how much more finished it looks just with a little shadow. Now you can also rinse your brush all the way and then drag it on the side and then pull into that paint like we talked about, and that will fade that out more if you want it to be a little more like a soft shadow. But yeah, that's a little thing you can do, and that's going to give you the difference here. With this one has a little line and then really shaded or really softer. I prefer it to be a little harder, but I just wanted to give you that so that you have that finished feeling, because it just, it grounds it. Easy, right? Okay, thank you, Susan. I try. I want you guys to have all the tips. I want you to feel empowered to create and to do something that feels like you're proud of when you're done, even when you only have 10 minutes. Because let me tell you something, everybody, hold on, I'm going to bring my face on because we're being serious. Everybody, camera, has 10 minutes a day. I promise you do have 10 minutes a day to sit down and make something. If the burden or if the hurdle or the resistance has to do with like, oh, but I have to set everything up. No, find a corner where stuff is already set up. So what I do is I have 2 clean paint water jars. I have 2 because warm colors and cool colors. And then I have a rag, is my watercolor rag that I very rarely use, but I do. And it's over those paint water thingies so that my cats don't drink out of it, but it's sitting here, okay? Wherever here is. It could be a little nook in your closet. I don't care. Have that there. Have a brush there. Have your paint thing open. I know not everything is a thing. I just keep calling it. And have some paper there, okay? And now you have a project that you can do in 10 minutes. With no barrier to entry. So remove your barrier to entry and you will create something. And it feels so good to know that you did. You know why I know you have 10 minutes a day? Because did you get on Instagram today? Or any day, And I know that sometimes couch feels really good and couch sits there and it's like, you're scrolling, you're like, oh, that's a project I want to do. That's a project I want to do. And then we just feel terrible. Remember in 1999, not really. Not really, like 2004 or yesterday when we're sitting there and scrolling Pinterest for project ideas and you're like pinning stuff and you're like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. 4 hours go by, not really. But then we're like, we never created anything. But the whole point was to go on there to like source whatever project we found that one time. But then we just don't look at our existing notes and we just like keep finding new. No, it's going to feel so good to get in a sketchbook or to get into getting something on paper. So thanks for spending this time with me. Thanks for letting me go over a little bit. Please share what you have created. I really, 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 really cannot wait to see it. I know Skillshare is going to love to see it as well. So if you share on Instagram when you're on there for your 10-minute scroll, no, for real though, tag me at the pigeon letters. I think that I have it. Yeah, I have it in my, where's my little name? Whatever, the pigeon letters, Peggy Dean. And then also tag Skillshare and use a hashtag Skillshare Live. So that way, if we don't see it for some reason, we'll see that. You can also add your artwork to the projects tab of my classes. This one is also going to be, this one's going to be up, right? I just love getting the feedback from community, all of it, all the process. Let me know about your experience, any resistance that came up for you, because that's also really important to talk about. So in the projects tab, you'll see that. And then all the links and handles are down in the caption if you missed anything at all for the live sesh. So subscribe to Skillshare's channel, subscribe to my channel. You're going to see more lives like this one. So thank you all so much. You watch most from your car? Oh, I love that. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yes, find your 10 minutes today. Thank you guys. This is so great. Heather, I'm glad it was so informative. Yay. Okay, that's it for now. And I hope to see you so soon. Yeah, thanks everybody. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of your week. All right, bye-bye.